Hello friends, I am Chevy. Welcome to my shed. How are you doing this evening? How are things in your world? I hope they're going well. Let me know. As always, I love hearing from you. You know that. And today on I have a plan. I have a plan for my future and my professional future. That I'm kind of hopeful. And if you're not aware, if you don't follow me everywhere, if you don't pay attention to everything I say, I'm losing my job next year. My job will cease to exist on June 30th. So I have some time, which is good. I enjoy the idea of having a head start, right? Having a running start at this thing, to figure out what's next. And for me, I think what's next is going to be multi-phasic. Like I'm not looking to leave this career and immediately jump into something new. I'm also not looking to repeat, meaning finding the same job. I think what I'm looking to do is develop a foundation of maybe businesses that are not necessarily autonomous, but require less of my time than a full-time job, that can provide me with some sort of basic income and then build on that. So that's the plan. And the plan started today. Well, it's been something I know I need to do, but I'm just going to do it. And I worked with essentially a good friend of mine who knows business and he knows software. And we worked out some details today that I think are going to be perfect, right? And so I started working on the logo, and I thought it'd be really fun to talk about my process on the logo. So if you follow me on Twitter, wait, hold on. First of all, if you don't follow me on Twitter, why not? Here it is. Second of all, if you follow me on Twitter, this evening or today, I put up a bunch of logo ideas. This is something I used to do a lot. I used to use Twitter a lot more, and it's funny, since starting this show, I feel like I have less to say. I don't know how that works. But I put up some ideas, and I wanted to just kind of walk you through the process. So I'll show you some of these ideas on screen while we talk about this whole thing. But essentially, when I set out to create something like this, in particular like a logo, I have an idea. It usually begins with, all right, what is the brand identity, right? What is the thing? In this case, it's train themed, right? So a trained theme idea, and it is quick. So bullet train. Right? I'm not going to skip the whole locomotive thing, go straight to bullet train. And that's where I begin. And I begin essentially searching Google for train logos. I want to see what other people have done. One, so that kind of gets the engine rolling for that. I guess that pun was intended. Gets the engine rolling for creative ideas, for color palettes, for line weight, all that sort of stuff. I'm not looking specifically to steal. Like, I don't want to go say, oh, that's a cool logo, let me just kind of tweak it a little bit and make it my own. I'm just looking for thoughts that can kind of get the whole process rolling. Kind of like any artist. If an artist is going to draw a hammer, this hammer's become like lately has become a fixture. If an artist is going to draw a hammer, chances are they don't immediately recall a hammer in their head and draw it. They're going to go look at reference, right? So logo design is the same process, looking at reference, and maybe in the end, your final becomes a amalgamation of a bunch of things that you saw, but not necessarily. So in this case, though, very much so. So to show you some thoughts, train one here on this picture one, I'll zoom in on it for you here, is essentially I took a picture of a bullet train and drew these geometric shapes over top of it. I was going for like a retro 80s style, just a quick sketch. These are just sketches, by the way, which, yes, they're digital, but they're digital sketches. These are just me throwing ideas on paper. Instead of using a pen, I just use my mouse and click, and there you go, I have a sketch. So that was that idea, this like 80s bullet train look. Number 2 is actually almost a complete ripoff. It was somebody else's essentially basic layout. In fact, I'll just show you. Here's the original, and here's what I did to it. So, you know, that was a thought. Number 3 was, this is in fact, the version that I first made of this, let me put that up here. This is the first version. Looked way too much like a penis, and I just didn't like it, so I tried to minimalize it. Let's minimalize it. Let's abstract it. So I abstracted it down to this, and people said it looked like a computer mouse, and I agree with that. Which left me, let's go full abstract, and I did this logo, which is, again, very, very similar to something that I saw on Google. Obviously different, but not different enough in my mind. It was more or less just me wanting to try that style and see what I think, and then I could go from there. And then it settled on number 5 here. Number 5 is what I ended up going, that's the direction I ended up heading. And number 5 was originally, like, I saw a logo that was so abstracted that it didn't even resemble a train anymore. It was just like a couple of, it almost looked like somebody had taken some quotes and turned them on their side. So it was these 2 swooshes. And so that's what I started to draw there. I was going to draw these 2 swooshes, not necessarily copying from memory, and what ended up falling out of my hand, out of my mouse, was this very curvy looking thing. Now, I like it, but it's definitely not right. When I look at it, I see a Tron bike, and I didn't want that. I want it to be trained. So I took that, and so I posted this image up on Twitter here of all 5 of these and said, what do you guys think? And everybody pretty much picked 5. A couple people liked 2. The rest were just junk. I agree completely with everybody on that matter. So I took picture 1 and I modified it into picture 2, which much, much more says this is a train and not a Tron bike. And the colors were never intended to be the colors. That's just what I threw in there to put color on it, right? And then let me show you where it went from there. So we have the train, and it looks like a train, but it's also still very much just 2 marks on a piece of paper. So I added a little bit extra. Let me walk you through this process. I'm not a trained graphic designer. I've never went to art school. I don't know really anything professional about the correct line weights, the correct color palettes, none of that crap. I don't know any of it. All I know is I look at something and say, that looks good to me. You know, here's a box of screws. I pick it up. I look at this logo, this Spax logo, and I think, oh, that's clever. They used the X, a Phillips head screw, and include that in their logo, and it looks great. I'm kind of not okay with the kerning here. Like, I would have done something, but that's a logo, and so that's cool. I like that. I pick up this bullseye shellac, and I think that's kind of lame. Like, I'm not really okay with the drop shadow, and the highlights on the lettering is really weird. Mix that with this gradient down here that has a border shadow. Like, I just see things and I think, ew, right? So when I look at this image, I go, okay. It looks like a train, but it's also very not, there's nothing unique about it. To me, it looks like almost somebody took a calligraphy pen and just went swoosh swoosh and that's it. So that's not a bad thing, but it needs to be identifiable. So what I think of when I think of a logo is something that when I see it, I know exactly what it means. Like, I know what that belongs to. Looking at this could be a train company. This could also be some Nike brand spinoff. Not sure. So I wanted to put something that says this is a train, and that's where this little rounded headlight design came on the front. Then it's a matter of tweaking the curves till it looks good to me. And there's no way to really say how I've come to that conclusion, but it is what it is, right? Here I'll show you some other things. I also tried adding a stroke to this and making it more bubbly. I tried adding a white background, and I just kept coming back to the plain, just kind of clean two-piece logo that will identify this product. And yeah, so I don't know. Let me know what you think about all of these various logos in the comments. I just wanted to give you some insight on kind of what I think a logo design process looks like from a completely untrained eye. But I'd love to hear your thoughts. Am I right or wrong? Yeah. Do you see a train? Curious. I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Hey, Doc, wait! I want to ask you something.
Today's random fact comes from palm.fcla.edu. What was the first permanent Spanish settlement in what is now the United States? Pedro Menendez de Aviles hastened across the Atlantic, his sights set on removing the French and creating a Spanish settlement. Menendez arrived in 1565 at a place he called St. Augustine, and established the first permanent European settlement in what is now the United States. But if the French were already here, how was that the first?